Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Office 365 Pulse. We have part of the crew here today to talk about this week's updates. We don't have too many, but we have some in each category. So we're going to start out with the in development category. And so, to be honest, before the call, Tamara and I were teasing Tom quite a bit and giving him a hard time. So, as an olive branch, I'm going to go ahead and let him go first to show him that we do still love him. So, Tom, why don't you go ahead and kick us off today with what is in development?
I'm still not buying it. That's all there is to it. Oh, so a couple things that have shown up here, and I'll go ahead and take a shot at those. So Microsoft Teams, the live transcripts, those are now in development to actually show up in unscheduled team meetings and also to show up in channel team meetings. So before it was more like formal meetings, live events, the whole bit. Now you're going to see it at a much lower level, which I think is cool because I like having that live transcript. If you're like in a noisy place, you're not able to hear very well, or if you've got some hearing issues, to be able to see that transcript, your subtitles in the bottom, I think that's a good thing to have. And one other thing that I saw that's coming out, which actually I believe is already out, because I've seen it in our tenant, and I did a Spark One tip on this not too long ago, and that is in Microsoft Lists. You almost always, have the ability to export your list to Excel. And Excel used to be your only option. Well, now when you click that export link, instead of it saying export to Excel, it just says export and you've got a drop down. Now you can export to either the Excel format or you can go with CSV. So if for some reason you're trying to get your data out to feed into another system, the system would like to have CSV instead of all the overhead of an Excel spreadsheet. Now you can just go straight CSV and you've got it and you don't have to worry about opening it up and saving it again and stuff like that. So
It's a
those are two
crazy
really good.
world
I
that
know.
we live in, that we
Sim-
now have that feature.
so simple.
Like, it's so great. So great. Um, well, I'll give one, the reading features inside of Microsoft Teams. So this is one that they were talking about this week. I saw it because it was for teachers and education. So Microsoft Teams reading progress in Teams for education. So practice in reading review software. So kids could be reading along in Microsoft Teams. It would catch um, I don't know how you'd say that, their audio, their tone in reading, and how are they reading, and then teachers could read along. It would highlight and different things like that. So software to help teachers when you're working remotely, things that they would do in person typically, but then using the software to do that. So I thought that was a really cool addition that they're making there that's in development. So I'm guessing that's in development now. We'll be back in time for school next year. So I thought that was a cool one. How about you, Tamara?
I like Microsoft 365 Compliance Center retention for teams. So this is
Mm-hmm.
for the DoD, GCC High, and GCC tenants. So the admins will be able to apply retention and deletion policies to Teams chats and conversations. So that's going to be a big win for everybody in DoD, GCC High, and GCC.
Awesome. Tom, anything else in development?
Well, I was going to kind of put on my Adam hat and touch on
Go
some of the
for it.
compliance things, but she actually, did something similar. So um, probably in terms of the other ones that I flagged when I thought that Adam was going to be doing Adam things, OneDrive and SharePoint for Business, the immersive reader thing where you can basically go into immersive reader mode and it just pretty much takes everything off the screen except for the words, makes it nice and big. That's now available for OneDrive and SharePoint. So if you need that, the ability to have less clutter on your screen so you're not distracted from everything and can actually read what you're supposed to be absorbing, you're now going to have that immersive reader experience in more locations than just like Word or email or things like that. It also looks like one thing that I think is going to be really cool. I know that in Skype, you used to be able to have external people that you could add to Skype and you could have chats with these people and life was grand. Well, now with Teams, you're going to be able to chat with external users in group chats. So I think that's going to be nice to be able to bring people into these chats and not necessarily have to, grant them the keys in the kingdom to come into your entire environment. You can just say, hey, we want to bring you into this chat, and that's pretty much all they have access to. So there's a few things apparently you have to set up for, external access and, who's got the permissions to come in and things like that. But again, you're going to be able to go down that path of having external chats with people where you kind of lost that once you came out of the Skype world.
Yeah. One thing that I like is OneDrive and SharePoint for Business, or SharePoint for Business. Well, SharePoint and OneDrive for Business, adding link settings to the quick permission. So just going in and being able to set more settings on when you go in for links, I think that's great. I like that. So making it easier for those sharing, making it more natural. So I think that's a great thing that's coming and in development there. Tamara, anything else in development that we want to touch on?
One thing that I like is Microsoft Teams presents slides from PowerPoint app.
Yes.
So you can present your slides directly from the PowerPoint app to a Teams meeting through PowerPoint Live in Teams. And that'll be coming out end of this month worldwide.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was in a meeting this week and I was listening to the presenter who was talking, and they were from Microsoft. So it was a meeting with Microsoft and they were using this feature. They have it. And she was saying how it's been a interesting transition for her to have to learn how to present this way. And then it's not that it's a hard feature to use, but it's different because she's used to being in our PowerPoint and then going to do her demo and then going, but now she's doing this live thing and it's just a different way of sharing. And so she's learning to not always go back to what I've always done because it's what I've always done. And then she has to kind of get a different presentation flow in there. So I think that's going to be an interesting one because it's going to be like one of those things that the new features for how we can do cool things and how we can do things with presentations are going to come through, that PowerPoint Live. And so to get those new features, we're going to be needing to use PowerPoint Live. But that means we're going to have to be using PowerPoint Live. So we're going to have to be getting used to using that and trying to do that. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to do.
Well, isn't that the feature that also allows you to go ahead in slides without affecting the speaker at all?
Yes, and that was great because it let me go ahead and go back and all of that while I was talking, and it let me decide I didn't need to stay for the rest of the meeting. Loved it.
Yeah, that one I'm looking forward to as an attendee. I'm not looking forward to it as a speaker because I don't have the control anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't worry. As soon as we all start dropping from their meetings, they'll give us the control that lets us stop them from going forward and only lets us go back. It's okay.
There you go. Okay, that actually would make a lot of sense as that one.
Yeah, I'm sure that one will be coming. They're not going to want us always going ahead in their presentations either. So don't worry.
It's great
that
meeting
one will
later.
Come soon. Yeah, that one will come soon. As soon as they do a presentation and we're tweeting ahead before what they're saying, it'll happen. Don't worry.
Slides, and slide, screen print, slide, screen print. I got all the content. I'm gone.
Awesome.
You guys are naughty.
Maybe.
Well, yeah.
What happens when I don't get croutons?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't have anything more on the in development.
Nope, I'm good.
Me either. All right. Well, Tom, will take us to rolling out.
So rolling out, now we're back into the thing of, we probably discussed a few of these before because they have gone through the in development. So some of these things are not new, but it's nice to know that you may actually now start seeing them come out in your tenant. One of them that I think is really cool and I'm looking forward to seeing is for SharePoint. You're now going to be able to visualize your Microsoft lists with Power BI, and it's pretty much just built in. So there's a new view and author experience that auto-generates an initial report for you based on the information in the list, and you can specify fields to create from or update the visuals. I think that is really cool that they're giving you the ability now to more easily create that initial Power BI, which is a little intimidating to some people, but if you get the initial one and then you can say, oh, well, I want to go out and tweak this a little bit, you can start to build up your education level on what I can and can't do. And all of a sudden, Power BI starts to become a much more I'm going to turn to this very quickly for my reporting, where before it's like, I don't know how to do Power BI. It's something that I have to go launch. Looking forward to this change. I think it's going to be a huge game changer.
I'm not going to lie. I love me some Power BI. At all those,
like a
at
Power
all
BI.
them power tools, Power BI is my favorite. I love it. You can do a lot of stuff really easy in Power BI, and it's just you drag and drop. It looks pretty, and if it doesn't look pretty, it's because you drag and dropped the wrong thing. So you just go drag and drop something else. It's very easy to use. I love it, and I love making reports. I love me some data.
Yeah, my coworker Sandra, countless occasions I'll bring her into a meeting where they're like, well, we'd like to see something nicer on like the homepage, maybe like a dashboardy like thing. And she's like, so can I take over the screen? And she does. And I'm like, oh, this is good. And like in 10 minutes, they're all like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I'm like, I love watching this happen because it does. It changes the entire experience for people visiting that site and for how they interact with it without having to go into lists and drill down and do all this kind of stuff. It's got these great visuals that come right up and they didn't have to do anything for it.
Yeah, that's really good. How about you, Tamara? What do you have in this rolling out category?
Ooh, dynamic views in Microsoft Teams. So the dynamic view is going to automatically optimize the shared content and video participants in the Teams meetings. So new controls are going to let you personalize the view to suit your preferences and needs, like the ability to show shared content and specific participants side by side. So I think this is going to be great. I think it helps people stay more engaged in the presentation. If you can have the presentation or the demo up at the same time and have kind of a screen and screen of the person who's doing the presentation, have their video up, I think it keeps people more engaged in the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, supervised chats inside of Microsoft Team to make sure that students are supervised by an educator during private one-on-one or group chats. So that's good. Distribute assignments from to more students from 200 to 300. So that gives them the ability to do more students. I can see how that could be important in the higher education space. And then Lens integration with assignments. That's very good because Lens taking pictures, turning things in, super great there. So some Teams things that are rolling out there, super great. So those are some of the things I was looking at that I think are great in the rolling out.
One other thing in Teams that's in rolling out is users can now search in meeting participants from the roster. So from the search box in the roster, users can now search in meeting participants. They can continue to search for meeting participants outside the meeting and request them to join the meeting. But I've often, like in a big meeting, if I have another, and it's a Teams meeting, not a live event, if I have another person, like it's an Ask Me Anything, it's good to know that your other counterparts are actually in the meeting. So I've often wanted to search through a group of like 120 people to see if the other people who are going to be answering questions are also available in the Ask Me Anything.
Mm-hmm.
And this will allow you to do that. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and pour one out for our homie Adam, who's not here, because he would be touching on this one. Exchange, update to Exchange Online's Reply All Storm protection. If you've ever been in a Reply All Storm, it's half funny, half sad, and completely irritating because you have all these messages of people going, take me off this list, but they do it to everybody else. Don't reply to this list. Everybody else, it goes crazy real quickly. Well, Microsoft a while back did some changes to allow you to calm down from Reply to All Storm and kind of put a few breakers in there to allow people to catch their wits again and hopefully stop these. Well, this particular update will give the admins the ability to customize the various thresholds more specifically to your organization based on what you see and based on what may be happening in a specific Reply All Storm. It says additionally, we'll also provide insights and reports in the Modern Exchange Admin Center for detected reply all storms, get my Southern going on there, y'all storms, and information about the blocked replies. So it's one of those things that you hopefully do not have these on an recurring basis. But if you do have one, they can be really hard to stop, especially if you have like 2,000 or 3,000 people who are all chiming in. It just goes up exponentially. So I think having some more options to control those and perhaps get them stopped is always a great thing.
Oh, I love those. They're always so funny because the poor person who started it, in my experience, is always someone who knows better, but it's always an accident. It's always a pure accident. And then everybody, it's comic gold. And I always feel so bad because the person who started it did not mean to start it. It was a complete accident. And not even an accident like a oversight or something. Oh, bless their hearts. It's just funny.
Bless their hearts.
I know what that means down south.
It's just sad. I feel for them. All right. So a couple of other things like in the Compliance Center, Discovery, Advanced e-discovery solution for DoD. Those things are, like Tom said, we've been talking about them a lot in development. So we're seeing them actually starting to roll out now. Microsoft Information Protection, data classification analytics for GCC High and DoD. We're starting to see those roll out, as well as let me see, the Compliance Center, Communication Compliance Teams, Conversation Context also rolling out there. That was one I feel like we've been talking about for quite some time. So admin sync reports for OneDrive, those I feel like we've been talking about a lot. So nothing I think that is too crazy. Some of these I feel may even have actually been in the rolling out for more than a week or so as well. But I've seen those are there. So anybody else have anything in rolling out, or should we move to launched?
I have one thing left.
Go for it.
Outlook, updates to attachments in received emails. So Microsoft is consolidating the options to manage a received file under a single drop-down menu, similar to Outlook for Windows or Mac. And customers with OneDrive enabled, Microsoft is going to be adding the ability to directly edit Word, Excel, and PowerPoint attachments in the corresponding desktop or web app. So I think this is going to be great. People email you something, you need to make a couple quick updates and then send it back to them. I think it's really going to streamline that process.
Very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, moving into launch, Tom, why don't you start us off?
So a couple things. I think I'll go with the first one that I don't think Tamara will probably choose. Outlook for Windows, intelligent base translations. So you've got the ability to do translations for a lot of things, but sometimes once you go past one or two words, you get into a phrase, may not always translate very well. This is adding a little bit more AI into it, where you have new translation features that allow you to translate full messages or specific words and phrases. So I think it's starting to bring in some more of that, okay, here's what the words were, but here's what the context is. And I think that's really good, especially as you're dealing with global, global, but also multicultural organizations or audiences, where you're not always guaranteed it's going to come in on English, and sometimes English is not a primary or secondary language. It's best just to have them do it in their own language and then get a proper translation coming through. So I think that'll be good, and it should be out there. And that's Outlook for Windows.
Awesome. Well, Microsoft List for iOS, iPad support is coming out, and then Microsoft List iOS Intune support, that has both launched. So that's, if you're looking for things for Microsoft List, those are going to be two things, especially that you're looking for. So those are there. Tamara, what do you have?
Speaker attribution for live captions for GCC. So Teams meetings in the GCC clouds will now have live captions attributed to the speaker. Now, I love that Microsoft has written this up, and what they've actually written up says, Teams meetings in GCC clouds will now have live captions utterances attributed to the speaker of the utterance. I want to know who came up with that.
That's utterly classic.
That is fabulous.
That's
And then
great.
the other thing I wanted to talk about was they're doing a lot to breakout rooms. So there'll be a breakout room timer, room retention, and participant reassignment. So organizers can now set a timer for breakout rooms from the breakout room settings. And after the timer has expired, the rooms will automatically close and participants will come back into the main meeting. Room assignment retention provides the ability to persist room configuration and assignment over multiple sessions.
That one's really cool.
Yeah, that'll be great. So you don't have to recreate the wheel every time. With participant reassignment capabilities, organizers will now be able to move joined participants across rooms and main meeting also when the rooms are open. So I think that's great, especially if you want to get people into different groups to work together. I think those are going to be some great add-on features.
Absolutely.
So that's probably a Zoom killer type feature, and the fact that we need to keep up. Zoom has it, we don't. Let's do it.
Right.
Another one, the Microsoft information. I remember Adam talking about this one when it was in development and then when it was launching. And so now we're rolling out and now we're into launch. But the Microsoft information protection double key encryption for government clouds. So this is for DoD, GCC High, and GCC. So it is a double key encryption from Microsoft, which allows you to protect your highly sensitive data while maintaining full control of your key. So you can protect your data with two keys, your Azure key and your key in the double key encryption service. So this is another layer of safety and security in the cloud. So I know this was a requirement for a lot of those environments. And so we're getting it launched. So it's good to see that there.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, anything else, or should we move on to our canceled item?
Go for canceled.
Move on.
All right. Well, this one, they canceled it and they're pausing it until the summer. So I think summer's in like 7 days. But anyway, they're pausing it to the summer. On Outlook and the web, they were showing us an option to show all of our declined events, but they're pausing that for now. So they're going to bring it back, I guess, later, but they were going to add the option for us to, I guess, have a thing and say, show me everything that I have declined. Not sure why I would need that, but maybe I will at some point. So there we go. So be it. It's been canceled, at least for now. So those are our updates for now. And exciting times. So I feel like we're rolling along. I feel like we're making good progress. So I think we just keep at it, keep chugging. And I mean, the amount that they're putting stuff out, I mean, doing this show every week, they are really chugging along with updates. So I think it's crazy, and it's so cool being able to do the show with you guys and stay up to date on just the smallest little things that they're updating. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time every week and doing this with us.
Well,
It's
With
fun.
me. I'm not an us.
It's kind of interesting because I remember when you first asked me to do this show, I'm like, I don't know this stuff. You don't me? No. Well, now it's like I do this one weekly. I do the admin center messages sync to planner. And so every day I go pull over all those. I also look at the new items coming out and then pull it into a future updates channel to tell my customers, hey, these are things that are coming up you might be interested in. All of a sudden it's like, we'll be going through the planner and they'll say, okay, so this, yeah, so that one, this is going to do da 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 da. It's like, I don't know if I got this from the admin center. I don't know if I got it from the emails coming in. I don't know if I got it from the roadmap, but I know what's going on now.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And since we do the show, we get to talk about it every week. So we're at least, I've heard that before. It's not totally new news. So
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week for another show. Thanks, guys.
Bye now.